A little bit, because they removed one of the options.
All right, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out to the planning commission meeting this evening. We'll go ahead and get started and have Commissioner Walton lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Walton. All right, item number 2, public comment. We'll go ahead and open it up for public comment if there is any. No?
The one that I want to comment on is please.
We'll see you in February. That's what you're saying.
All right, can I get a motion to close public comment? Oh, I will close public comment. Why I always forget that one. I know. All right, the item number 3, approval of consent agenda from December's meeting. Any comments from my fellow commissioners? I'll start with Commissioner McFadden.
Negative. I don't have any comments. I've reviewed it and it reflects what happened.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Wilson?
No comments.
Commissioner Walton?
No.
And Commissioner Boatwright?
No comment.
All right, I am good as well. So I'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda PC 2022 of 12:08 minutes.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that motion.
Quick, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Commissioner
Aye.
Boatwright? And I am aye as well. Okay, thank you. All right, so item number 4, just for everyone's education, in case you didn't see, the original public hearing and action on ordinance amending the amendments to the residential multifamily R7 to R5 was moved to February 9th. If there's someone here that wanted to talk to that, because you may not be aware that this happened for us, if you're here and you want to talk to it, then we'll open up and we'll hear discussion. Otherwise, you can join us on February 9th to state your case or your comments.
Is that what originally it was set out to be when up by the Maverick, that property up there?
That is part of it, yeah. Mhm.
I don't know from the process, so
Yeah.
I'd love to say a couple of things, but when
Yeah,
when the time's right.
what will happen if you wish to make your public comment tonight, we'll make sure that it's put in the public record for that meeting on the 9th as well.
Okay.
Because we moved the public hearing, but because you're here tonight, we can take that public comment and add it to that public hearing.
Okay.
Would you like to do that tonight?
Yeah, it's basically, I want to know what it is, because I own the property just down from it. So I'm just kind of curious, like what they're wanting it to be.
Yeah, come to the podium.
Okay.
Do I need to officially open it then?
Yeah, reopen it back up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you go, let's just make it official real quick. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing action?
What?
On number 4?
So we're not opening the public hearing, right? Because we've moved that. This would just be public comment, wouldn't it, Trevor?
Basically, yeah, let's just do it as a public comment, and then we'll make sure that the comment is read into the meeting on the hearing page. Or you can come back to that.
This is more just like gaining information.
Yeah, we can talk about it since it's still on the agenda. We can still talk about that tonight.
Okay.
Because we don't want to open the public hearing, because then
No.
we can't have it again, and it
You
wasn't
can-
sufficiently noticed. or
You can
appropriately
have
noticed.
public hearings multiple times, but
So I should
Yeah.
have jumped in on the public comment part.
let's just have a conversation about it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think where he's looking for information, you know, so much a comment on.
Yeah.
We don't really have a development proposal in front of us or anything for
Yeah,
that parcel. It's What, it's just on the ordinance
Mhm.
associated with a potential development. So we don't have anything on our agenda that addresses a
Right.
development proposal.
So the rezone application was submitted by the city because we are actually removing the R7 zone from our books and adding a new R5 zone in its place and then adding a strategic growth overlay zone. And so because we're removing that R7 from our books, we took anything that's currently zoned R7 that doesn't have a development on it and are updating the zone to what is going to be on the records for us to match that. Does that make sense?
Is there a definition of R7 versus R5?
Yes. So right now our code has an R7 multifamily zone.
Okay.
And then what the ordinance is proposing is that we're removing that zone and stating a new zone. And so because that would be a legal non-conforming zone with no guiding document in our code, we are moving it to a zone that is active and current. Does that make sense? It's a little, yeah, I was on the phone with our attorney quite a bit to discuss that.
Explaining what the SG is.
So an SG, so we can provide a overlay zone for another zone. So it's basically you take the base zone and you can add an overlay on top of it to give different incentives like density. So the strategic growth overlay zone allows for an increased density bump to that area if they meet the requirements in that strategic growth overlay zone.
Okay.
And the R7 and 5 refer to how many lots per acre.
Okay, that's what I was
So
curious about.
7 lots per acre to 5 lots per acre.
Oh, okay. All right.
Just for the record, will you just state your name and your address? please?
Yeah, so my name is Jim Weddington. And my address, I actually live in Farmington, 487 Greystone Drive. But I have a company called JP Electrical out of North Salt Lake. But I also own JMW Properties, which is basically Jim and Michelle Weddington, my wife. And we own the lot that's on 21st East and South Weaver,
Okay.
on that corner lot. And so once I know I'm trying to just figure out, because I want to start doing some development. But before I do, I want to listen to kind of what's taking place, but also build a plan as far as what I can put there, because I have some great ideas to put there, but just make sure I'm following.
Is that the lot that's like in between the on-ramp to 89?
It's just west of
Southbound?
the storage unit.
Yeah.
It's the one where they were gonna put the church.
Right.
Yeah, it's like 3 acres.
Trying to-
There's
like a big mound covered in grass.
yes,
There's
Back
the
up against
gateway
the-
and then the storage units.
Okay.
and then-
yeah,
Okay.
just west of the
Thank you.
storage unit.
I'm like literally trying.
So
to
I'm
click on
trying
it.
to, and like I say, I don't know the procedures, but I'm just trying to gather information because I'd like to start at least leveling it and getting an idea of what I can put there. I've heard all kinds of things of what you don't want there or what you can't put there. I've heard like no more storage units, which is totally fine with me. And I think you guys were requesting like more retail or flex or something. So that's why I'm here. I don't know what
Yeah.
protocol. I'm just trying.
So I would say for a lot more detail what we could do on the property, you can schedule a time to meet with me in the
That's
office.
you.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Yep, I'm the city planner. so-
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
All right. That's all I have.
Great,
No,
thank you.
Thank you.
Can I take this schedule?
Yeah.
I don't even have a schedule. I just wanted to kind of listen. Did you all get-
Great. All right, so if there aren't any other comments on item number 4, we'll go ahead and consider that closed until next meeting and then, or not closed, but move to next meeting. Thank you. And then we'll move to item number 5, public hearing and action on ordinance 2023-03 moderate income housing updates. And if Trevor, if you could give us a overview on why this is back in front of us, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Kim, could you pull up that letter just real quick just to show Gary? Yes, I did. So we went through this process. It may feel like a little bit deja vu. We went through this process back in September to make recommendations on updating our moderate income housing plan for the state of Utah as part of the new requirements from the legislature. As they reviewed our plan, they sent back notes of how we needed to update our plan. And so they sent us a very nice letter of non-compliance, is what it was titled. They sent it to me and all of the city council. So it kind of felt like they were telling my parents on me a little bit. But it ended up, as I was meeting with other cities who also got a letter of non-compliance, which there was quite a bit of us, found out that we had it fairly easy compared to other municipalities on their plan. So the finding that they had was our strategy B didn't include specific benchmarks or a timeline for updating the capital facilities plan, impact fees facilities plan, and general plan for moderate income housing infrastructure. And so all we needed to do was put specific benchmark dates within that plan to make it comply. I asked them any other items. They said, well, you passed it through resolution this last time and that was fine, but we'd prefer it to be passed through ordinance. And so it is now an ordinance. So we'll just do it both ways and hopefully one of them will be right. No, but until they change the plan.
Till it comes back next year.
Yeah, I talked to Lisa, our city recorder, and about it, and she's like, but we looked it up and it said resolution was good. And I said, I know. But so we're doing this ordinance just to cover our bases this time. This is so as you look through the submission, we implemented dates. These are dates set already set for us on our completion of our capital facilities plan, impact facilities plan, and all of those capital facilities projects. And so it fit really nicely within the timelines that they were wanting. As I was reviewing the letter of non-compliance prior to this meeting, one thing I did notice is that they did want maybe describe how updating these plans support specifically the construction of moderate income housing. And so what I would maybe recommend to you is an amendment to the wording in strategy B on the updating the city's general plan, just updating the city's general plan, looking for moderate income housing opportunities and the impact to the infrastructure in those areas.
And that would be the fall 2024 deadline.
That would be the fall 2020, the winter 2024 deadline.
Oh, right.
Was begin the process of updating city's general plan to look at moderate income housing areas and the infrastructure needed to maintain those. So in your motion tonight, if you want to include that amendment, you can quote me verbatim, or you can say as recommended by city staff, just to help your motion out.
So just to make sure that I understood what you said,
Mhm.
so that if I do quote you verbatim, I know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
You're suggesting that we modify this to specify that we will undergo the effort of looking for opportunities for moderate income housing in our city before the winter of 2024.
Yeah, so when we do, right now it says winter 2024 is begin the process of updating the city's general plan. That fits within our timeline of every 5 years, we update that general plan.
Okay.
And so last time was 2020, and so we would adopt it in 2025. Convenient, just like that. And so as we are doing that, we will look for areas that can facilitate moderate income housing and the required infrastructure to maintain those areas. Does that make sense? So
Yeah, so basically, this is measurable enough in that we can show proof that we have looked for those opportunities in our discussions of
Correct.
land use.
correct. Yeah, the state is looking for benchmarks and dates for us to hit those benchmarks and then measurable things that we can report. All of the other, as they were reviewing all of our other benchmarks for the other strategies, they said they were perfect. They said they were better than a lot of the other cities that they had reviewed. And so I just kind of followed the same template from those. And so, but as reviewing that, I do feel comfortable that what's there is fine and it will work, but just to make sure that then we may want to add some of that verbiage just to specify that's what we're looking for as in regards to the infrastructure. Whether or not we find that or identify a lot of areas, that's not what we're asking or
Right.
saying. We're just
Yeah.
saying we will look at the possibilities and see what the infrastructure impacts would be for those areas.
And I'm surprised that they are okay with such a soft ask or a soft commitment there. But if they are, great.
Yeah, that's what they said that they're good with right now.
This year.
Yeah,
For now.
I don't know what the future holds on that, but I know that maybe a scab they're going to keep picking, so we'll have to be flexible on that.
Yeah, SB 84. This is continuation on to that. Yeah.
Are there any other concerns or questions from my fellow commissioners? Open public hearing and
Mhm.
Allow
Oh,
anybody
sorry.
to talk about it,
yeah,
now that we've got the discussion.
then the motion, go ahead.
Make a motion that we open the public hearing on ordinance 2023-03 moderate income housing update.
Okay, get a
I'll
second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are now open for public hearing. If there are any comments?
No, follow the whole process of what you've been doing and the modifications, with the changes of the.
HB or HB? No, I can't remember.
HB.
It was HB 4.
Whatever.
No.
Moderate income housing bill that. changes.
435 or something.
So is Paul making official comments? Because I can't hear him, or is that just chit chat?
Chit chat.
Chit-chat.
Okay. Well, if
Nothing
Paul,
that hasn't already been said in previous meetings
okay.
about this
What-
item.
Well, if nobody has anything to say, I will move that we close the public hearing.
I will
second that.
second. Oh.
Right.
Give it to me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. All right, now, comments from my fellow commissioners. Gary, I'll start with you, give you the first opportunity.
It's pretty straightforward. I think like what Trevor was saying, we got off pretty lucky and it's a simple fix. So hopefully we can get this approved and through, and it'll be good to go with the state. So good work to this good. Thanks to the staff for the good work on this.
Okay, Commissioner Walton.
So my only real question is administrative.
Mhm.
So on our agenda, we are providing an action in a public hearing on the ordinance. But in our packet, we have a draft for our general plan.
For city council.
So the document that we are updating is our moderate income housing plan, which is a part of our South River general plan. So how our general plan is set up is we have a provision that says moderate income housing, see our moderate income housing plan. And then this is a separate document. So we're making an ordinance to amend that document. To put it.
Okay, so we're not providing recommendation on the draft language for the general plan inclusion. It's just the ordinance,
Mhm.
even though, okay, copy.
Yep, because before it was a resolution, and so you just made the recommendation on the wording of the resolution, and then since it's an ordinance, you make a recommendation on the ordinance approval.
Copy. When I saw the general plan, we're not providing any comments on that.
No,
Got it.
no, we didn't open the whole general plan, it's just that part.
Just.
Thank you.
Housing.
The state asked, and initially they said, you're missing a whole part of your general plan, or you're missing your whole general plan in your submission. And I said, no, this is how we have it. Do we have to include all of that back into our general plan? and re-amend our general plan? And she said, no, you're fine to have an addendum on it. I said, okay, great. Because I don't want to open our general plan.
Not yet.
Yeah.
You want to read what it says? It says, see the most recently adopted South Weaver modern income housing plan.
hmm
Very simple, fill in the blank.
You're good there? Yeah. Commissioner Wilson?
We just have to have this done by what, February 16th?
February 16th, yeah.
Okay, and we're just making the recommendation to approve it
Mhm,
and to make those changes, and city council is gonna be the one to actually officially vote on it.
correct.
I don't have anything else.
Commissioner McFadden?
I said my piece. I think I'm clear on what's going on, and I agree with the direction.
Okay, my only question, Trevor, that came to mind is that additional detail that they were asking as far as how these items specifically address, do we need to call it out for each of these dates that you have, or do you feel like what you're calling out on the general plans is sufficient to address that concern?
I feel like what we're calling out on the just the general plan portion is sufficient, because what our capital facilities plan right now is acting on our current general plan. And so we're looking at the future use on our current general plan for cap facilities. When we go to update our general plan, that's when we can create those benchmarks of looking for those additional items for moderate income housing. So,
Then I'm good. So I'll look for a motion to approve or recommend approval to the city council with the amendments that we talked about earlier from Trevor.
I second that motion.
We need a motion.
No, you have to make a
I need a
motion.
motion.
He's asking for a motion.
Sorry, the amendments that you have, those are referenced in your memo for the, sorry.
they are not referenced in my memo. So
let's discuss.
you can say as recommended by Trevor and then the planning commission if you want to, or you can put the specific verbiage in there if you would like to.
Okay. I want to make it easier for whomever is gonna be doing this. But no, I'll do the motion. I didn't catch all the amendments that you had to this. So I'm just gonna refer back
So
to,
the only amendment I have is winter 2024, begin process of updating city's general plan, looking at areas of moderate income housing and the impact to the infrastructure associated with those areas.
So to begin that process in the winter of 2024.
Correct.
Okay, so not have that process completed by.
No.
That is, okay. I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance 2023-03 : moderate income housing updates with the changes of starting to look for moderate income housing opportunities in the city in in the winter of 2024. Is that,
Can you add recommend approval before that?
I'd like to recommend approval for, make a motion to recommend approval for the aforementioned.
Is that good? Well, I mean, is that legal? Does that cover us? Okay, I'll get a second. Can I get a second?
oh, second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of these are
It's
tricky.
that bad.
Wanna make sure we're good.
No. That's what I was asking. Like,
I threw
We
you
got
off and I know.
we
you
got
did.
it.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Commissioner Boatright,
Aye.
Commissioner Walton,
Hi.
Commissioner Losey,
Aye.
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. I thank you for your hard work on that, Trevor.
Yeah. Can we not do this again for a minute?
I sure hope so.
Just a minute.
All right, item number 6 is some special recognition for Commissioner Walton. We have this lovely plaque to present to you
Thank you
for appreciation of all your service on the planning commission. Thank
Well,
you
thank
so
you.
much.
very much.
You get present.
Oh, my goodness.
You get
We hope that
present.
you can sit back and relax.
A little bit more. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. No, that's awesome. Very nice.
Yeah, thank you for your many years of service. We appreciate it. And I know the city does as well. Would you like to say anything? at this point?
Official.
Yeah.
Have to make a motion? No, I'm really grateful for the opportunity that I've been given to serve the city of South Weaver. It's been a wild ride between general plan updates and some of the development proposals that we've had in the city, and I've really grown to have a deeper appreciation and love for the city and what we're trying to do here. So the best part of it is working with everybody from the planning commission to staff to the citizens. It's been a wonderful journey. So grateful for it. Thank you.
Awesome. Well said. Well said, yeah. Oh, I'm always hesitant to clap for some reason. I don't know. Is that weird?
You're not done yet. We're having a meeting on the 14th.
We were gonna get
Fair
to
enough.
that end, communication item.
If you want to bring your chair to relax in,
Yeah.
kind of kick back, you might as well be in the chair.
All right, item number 7, planning commission comments, Commissioner Boatright. You first, what you got?
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Commissioner Walton for his service. Especially his reappointment to the commission. I know that was quite bumpy and some members of the city council threw him under the bus. And I think it just shows what type of person he is and the character he has to come back and to serve for 2 years. I wish it was longer. I wish it would have been a full 5 years. But we'll certainly miss your dedication, your thoroughness, your keen eye for looking at things, and just thanks. I've learned a lot from you, and wish you the best. So, thank you.
Commissioner Boatright.
Awesome. Commissioner McFadden, any comments for us?
Yeah, I'd like to just echo similar sentiment as Commissioner Boatright. Yeah, Taylor, it's been great to get to know you in this civil capacity and also, individually. So it's been a great working with you. I appreciate your objectivity and all the experience that you bring to the city.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Wilson.
Okay, just don't forget when we meet and feel free to come join us for public comment anytime.
I plan to.
You and Paul can take turns at the podium.
Keep my comments to 3 minutes and direct you all.
Keep us in line.
You're gonna speak freely.
Be agreeing.
Unhindered by law.
I did actually have a quick question about the annual retreat, because I know that that's coming up, and that is something I just clarified, the planning commission should be attending, is invited to attend, can attend?
In the past that they have, but in the last couple of years, we haven't done it as a full council on planning commission.
Is
You
there
are
a
all,
reason why?
just to keep the numbers small and just focus
Okay.
on strategic planning at the city council. But that being said, it is a public open meeting, so anybody is welcome
Anybody can-
to.
And what are
come.
the dates and where is it being held?
It is going to be on January 27th and 28th. So the 27th is kind of it's a kind of a social.
Okay,
And then the 28th is gonna be here at the city council or at city offices, most likely in our new conference room, which is in the front of the building.
now when you're saying social, is it like, do we have a meeting hall, like a location?
We are
or
gonna
is
be
it-
at the FAC, just doing a kind of team building night.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. I had somebody ask me about that and they didn't.
Family
answer.
Activity Center in South Louis.
The, next to the elementary school. All right.
Like come in my joggers and.
Whatever you wanna do.
Circle the whole event.
Yeah.
Are we gonna do trust falls and
Sing Kumbaya.
Yeah, there you
team building
We're gonna set up a
exercises?
big trampoline, that's what I.
go. No plans as of yet, but we can get a bounce house. I'd love to see Blair on a bounce house.
A ball pit?
A giant ball pit would be a little bit.
I would say, yeah, dunk tanks and, taking shots or,
The whole carnival.
make it fun.
Anything
That
else?
was all.
Commissioner Walton.
Nothing further.
All right, so a couple things that I wanted to talk about. One, again, thank you, Commissioner Walton, for everything. I'm your share a lot of the comments. I think Commissioner Boatwright knows you better than the rest of us, at least that's what it seems, because you guys have been working together longer, but it has been fun to get to know you and to understand your passion for the city and everything, and it's been really nice. And like Commissioner Boatwright said, I too enjoy the fact that you kind of challenge and you are kind of looking for that deep understanding, which is really nice. So thanks for bringing that passion to the commission. That's been nice. So
Thank you.
On another note, so if you hadn't watched the city council minutes, I did present to them Tuesday. So if you watched it and you know what I'm about to say. If you haven't watched it, then when I presented kind of what we had talked about for our goals for focusing on sensitive land use and water use, there was a couple of things that came up that they wanted me to bring back to the table with all of us to get a little more detail. So a couple things though. One, well, I guess three things. One, I requested that the city council have a priority list, which it sounds like that already exists, but I don't think we've really officially seen that yet. So I requested that they share that with us. So hopefully we'll get that. And I wouldn't expect to see that until after their retreat, because that's when they're going to really lay out the priorities, is my assumption. So I would love to see that shared with us so that we can kind of mirror that in what we think we could go after. If there's any low-hanging fruit on that priority list that we could proactively address, then I'd like us to do that. So that's one. Two, when I recommended the focus of sensitive land use and water use, they did tell me that that's already on their priority list, but they're especially the sensitive land use is a very broad topic, and they were hoping that we could come back to them with a couple of specifics that we think would be well worth our time and effort to go after. So if you already have some ideas tonight, then let's call that out and we can talk about that. Otherwise, what we can do is, well, tonight would be ideal because then we can let Blair know so that he can take that to the retreat so that they can incorporate that into the priorities. If we aren't ready to call out specifics there, then I think what we can do is we can talk about it in our February meeting and then compare that against the priority list that hopefully they'll be able to present to us either before that meeting or during that meeting, so where we can kind of see where those priorities kind of land. And then we can have a back and forth if needed with the city council on what we think we could go after from our perspective, and be a little more proactive there. Does that make sense so far?
Mhm.
And I know there's some question on kind of, what we should be or shouldn't be proactive about. My discussion with them is I think it's important for the city council and the planning commission to be kind of lockstep on what are we trying to accomplish this year, so that we're not trying to do anything that's contradictory to one another or anything like that. I also called out that it would probably be a good idea to increase communication around what's going on in co-committee so that we can have some kind of call out specifically on planning commission. I don't feel like this year we've done a good job on talking about that and making sure we're all aware on what's going on. So what I've asked Trevor to do is going forward in our meetings is whoever is going to be appointed onto the co-committee this year, and at least this year, to have an agenda item so that they can report out, okay, this is what happened in co-committee, this is kind of where we're at, this is the priority or whatever, so that we can all stay in the loop on what's going on there. And I felt like that was good to kind of close the loop on communication and awareness more than anything else. And then the other thing they had mentioned was making the minutes from co-committee more public so that we can also review that. So I think those will be good additions to our practices and policies so that we can all stay aligned on what's going on and there's good communication. And if we feel like we're out of loop or something, then I think I think my discussion with them during the city council was actually pretty productive, so maybe that's something that we can maybe do a little more often going forward as an idea, so what do you think?
I think we definitely need to improve the communication, because I feel like we've had a couple meetings where I feel like we're spinning. And then I go and I listen to city council and I feel like they're having the same spinning conversation, and I'm just like, where's the disconnect? You know, because it sounds like obviously with the items that we had identified, you know, that they're already being worked on, they're already being discussed, and so, but we didn't know that, and so it's, again, it's communication between us, and, you know, I wish that we'd been able to have a full planning commission when we did have the opportunity to sit down with the entire council and the mayor. Like, I thought that was a good meeting, but it was just me and Gary,
Yeah.
or Commissioner Boatright that were there, and so I don't know, is there any plans to have that happen on a more frequent basis? I mean, I'm not saying like
It's something we can do.
a lot of times
look
a year,
into.
but at least every month, no. At least once a quarter, I think, or even a couple times a year, just because I do think it helps to, you know, because I don't know how many people listen to the city council meetings. I do.
Mhm.
You know, because I like to know what they're discussing and, you know, kind of getting an idea of what might be coming back to us or what their thoughts are on things that we've sent forward to them. So,
Yeah, Blair, do you have any insight on if the mayor and the city council felt like that was a good use of time?
I think it's a good use of time. I mean, how often? I mean, you guys only meet once a month. I mean, once a quarter too often.
Yeah.
You know, but it was a good meeting. It is a good thing to get that communication going back and forth. The school committee is a great example. Even the city council, the rest of the city council doesn't really know the priority of the school committee. And so that was a good discussion last night. And so
They blur together after a while.
That was a 5-hour meeting. It was wild. But yeah, no, I think it's a great thing. Because that priority list you're talking about, yeah, we have priorities that we addressed in the retreat, which we'll do again. But as far as priorities on land use, that kind of comes unless we direct something very specific like we have a few times. It's whatever their priority is.
Yeah.
And so that's where there is some, and I think it's a great idea to have it.
Okay. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, so you know where I stand on this a little bit. I think there's value in having some separation there and looking at the code. You know, we are to advise the city council on matters as directed by the city council. That's the wording in code. So I think we need to be cautious what we put forward, because again, we should advise on what they want us to advise them on. That's kind of odd, but that's how it is in the code. So, because we could spin our wheels just as much and not do anything if they don't want to hear what we have to say. So I just think we need to be very cautious not to overstep those bounds that are set for this group in code.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that plays into understanding what the priorities are on city council. And then to your point, Gary, if the direction from city council is, this is our priority for the year, and here's some low hanging fruit that we want the planning commission to tackle this year, then I think that opens up the opportunity for us to start going after stuff.
Agreed. I agree.
And that is where the discussion kind of went in the city council. Because it really was Bailey and Joel talking about it. And so it was, that's what Gary's getting point to, yeah, it'll be easier if we have that list, maybe say, here, go do that, or
Yeah.
if you want to try to do this, or whatever.
So if I can make a recommendation, it would be that whatever actions are taken in city council, make it into the packet for the planning commission in some kind of staff report. Because I'm not sure if I've ever really seen that. It's typically something like, hey, city council said this, so what do we think? Right, it'd be great to make that part of an ongoing record and something that you can reference over.
Instead of an unsubstantiated comment.
Or relying on us to come to city council.
well, and something that the public can also refer back to and see exactly how the discussion went, and then I can actually weigh in as well.
So maybe Trevor, that's something that you and I can take offline and see if there's a way to facilitate that.
Seeing the minutes from.
So if there's actions that are being directed to the planning commission coming out of city council, compile those and make it part of the next planning commission packet.
In a memo. or something.
Yep.
So if city council gives direction.
City council minute type.
Trevor has a task.
Just make our liaison do it.
Right.
Good,
Like
because if you
physical,
if you
yeah.
think in years past, we actually did this in reverse. We had someone from planning commission come to, before we had Trevor and everybody sitting up here with us. Planning commission was just kind of here. Because, no offense to Barry, but a lot of times Barry wasn't here or someone wasn't here. And so planning commission came to city council and had gave a report at the podium and went back and forth with what things needed to be taken back to planning commission. I mean, it could be done that same way, because it's either going to be near the mayor here, unless I get ready to sign, so.
Yeah.
I can read the memos for him though.
And then,
Is there any issue with noticing on that memo when you have a meeting in the same week
No.
for both? Groups?
No, I think what we would do, maybe not a memo, but it would be we could plan a time, like similar to a code committee update. We could have a city council update from the previous city councils, right? And then we would just, because we would know
As
what
part of our
items were
agenda.
coming
all they
forward.
did on one for our agenda, they just put planning commission report. So you can just put city council report, it can be something typed, it can be
Mhm.
something verbal. it can be something-
Yeah.
But it's a standing agenda.
Yeah.
I think what might be beneficial is just maybe the chair, the mayor, and maybe some city staff will figure out a communication plan and then disseminate to both groups to see if that's sufficient, and that helps break down some of those barriers.
You want to take the lead? Is that better?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you. All right, so back to kind of one of my other items. Is there anything specific that you'd like to call out on the sensitive land use ordinance or the water use in the city where you'd want the city council to specifically take that into advisement when they go to their retreat and add to their priority list as our input to them? Anything specific?
Nothing specific at this point, because I haven't read through like the sensitive
That's where I'm
land.
at,
Yeah, like I don't want to just shot in the dark at it. so-
Hillside.
Yeah, hillside, no digging, contamination, like, I
So-
think we need to maybe
Well, if
dive individually.
If I could, there are two things on my mind that I'd like to just put out there to see what your appetite is as a commission here. The hillside, specifically where the potential road might go in the future. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I know that Layton is developing very aggressively up to a point of our land on that side. And if there was ever a point at which there was an opportunity for some entity to, I guess, make the proposal to put that road there again, whether you're, a city member that is for or against having a road there, I think there's value in the city council getting in front of that sooner rather than later and being proactive versus reactive to it. And I say that because I know that there's development coming toward us from the Layton side. And if we aren't planning ahead on what we as a city want to do from our side, then it could put us in a situation where our options are limited. That's all I'm saying.
Are you, so just for some clarity on that one, are you maybe not implying, but suggesting that if we don't do something, then Layton will do something and then we won't have a choice about what happens? Is that kind of where you're?
No,
Trent
not
Bell's zone?
necessarily.
Oh.
But the land in South Weber that is adjacent to Layton,
Mhm.
that land, there may be, something that happens there on the South Weber side that may either correspond with or be in opposition to what's on the other side of the barrier, because really, there is no natural barrier there. I mean, it's a hillside with a road that, or currently a dirt road that is, could be accessible. And so if they have, residential development that comes all the way up to that point on the boundary line between Layton and South Weber, and then somebody perhaps procures that land and says, well, I'm gonna develop this in such a way that this makes sense to continue this through. I'd rather be ahead of that than reactive to it.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
So anyway, I think it's worth discussing. Or maybe people are like, you know what, rather take it as it comes and deal with the options when those options show up. I don't know. I just, as I took a trip over there to that side and saw what was happening on that side of our border, I mean, it's pretty aggressive. It's pretty aggressive. The residential development that's happening there near that transfer station area, or the dump up there. Anyway, and then I think very similarly, so anyway, that's just my recommendation. I think it's easy to say, no, don't want to talk about it, political football, whatever. Okay, fine. But I just want to put my 2 cents out there that, I see something coming. And if we're more proactive rather than reactive to it, I think that's better. That's my thought.
Okay.
And then I think likewise with where Sticker Parsons has the pit. Currently that is one single parcel. I know that, Sticker Parsons does want to maintain control of part of that pit in perpetuity, but they for the most part don't need that much of that 200 acres that's located there. And based on what the land use as it's zoned right now, there's not a whole lot of value to anyone besides Sticker Parsons in that pit. And so I think it's worth a discussion, or worth advising it or suggesting the talking about the options of what can be done to that pit. I think benefits there include number one, better control of air quality, because there could be some developments that could happen there that reduce the fugitive dust. And number two, it gives Sticker Parsons more options to do what's good for them and also potentially good for the city. So those are two options there. Whether it means subdividing that land and giving it an overlay, or another zoning that could be beneficial to us as a city. But right now, I think that land will continue to be an adversarial piece of land, and it's 200 frickin' acres of our land that's doing jack squat for our people. Other than there is commercial tax, but about it.
I mean, it's not jack squat. That is something.
Right. That is something, because we don't have much of that already.
Any other thoughts then? Are you good?
Yeah,
For sure.
those are the two things that came to mind.
Any other thoughts on specifics you'd like the city council to consider during their retreat?
I got my opinions, my last meeting,
Sure.
but I feel like.
Let him rip, Taylor.
Yep. Go big or go home, man.
Yeah.
Michelle's taking now.
All right.
You have it pre-written out for me.
So when we sat down and we did the general plan and we looked at the maps that we wanted to include in it, the sensitive lands map that we have is not a great way to delineate the hazards that we identify in the general plan. Like, we paint with a really broad brush. It's a lot of pink. And I think it would be great for planning purposes, as you try to set priorities, to have a delineated area for each one of those hazards. that we have in our general plan. Just to provide some discussion points. Not saying you update the general plan with the map. Yep. I think, you know, when I look at that map and to Commissioner McFadden's point, like when I was thinking about what you were saying about the interface that we have with Layton up on the hillside, that whole area is colored pink, but why is it pink? Is it hillside? Is it view quality? Exactly my point. So we're seeing a picture of the general plan maps for sensitive land use, and
It does have the plumes that are on the,
yeah,
West
it does have
End.
plumes.
it does
but
have the plumes.
we don't know if it's noise hazards from Hill Air Force Base. We don't know if it's hillside hazards or
Wetlands.
So is it contamination? Is it
Yep.
and elevation changes and, you know, slopes and percentages and things like that?
So just to summarize on that one, Commissioner Walton, you would hope that we provide better delineation in the sensitive land zones so that it's easier to
Yep. So they're
visualize.
Identifies
Yeah.
what
they're
the-
identified as environmental conditions in the general plan, and we really don't delineate where those hazards, where those environments exist. Got it. Okay. Yeah, and so within the general plan, it talks about how we will, you know, encourage this in these zones, or that we will discourage this in other zones, but you really don't have a good crosswalk between those. Got it. The other one, then we talked a little bit about it in the general plan, but I'm not sure if you really placed a lot of priority, we placed priority on this. But it was that urban and wildland interface, where we have buildings up against some of the more, you know, we'll call it forested areas of our
Lush.
city, lush, yeah. You know, we battled it once with a fire that ripped down the hillside, but I'm not sure if we really did anything beyond just saying that you need a fence along 84 that could hopefully stop a fire.
That's interesting you said that, because that came up in city council on Tuesday. a little bit.
Yeah, okay, good. That we talk about the urban wildland interface and how to provide land use recommendations to protect that interface.
I will say, just to update you a little bit, we are in the middle of a multi-hazard mitigation plan, and wildlife urban interfaces is wildfire urban interface is part of that plan. So you'll see that in coming meetings as we finalize.
What is it?
that. Multi-hazard mitigation plan.
So I think the other one too is, I mean, the wind. I mean, obviously you can't plan for the wind, but obviously planning land uses that are incompatible with wind. I'm not sure if you've ever placed priorities on understanding, given that we live at the mouth of the canyon, what do we want blowing in the air? And then my last one will be water. I think with all the APA conferences that we've been to in the last couple of years, there's a real focus in integrating a water conservation component in our general plan. And tying that to the water projections that the Weaver Basin Water Conservancy District has. I know we have a tie to say that if we have a development proposal, we have to have a need served letter from Weaver Basin, but we really never talk about how Weaver Basin's conservation plans might work into our land use plan.
That just struck a thought that kind of, I had a conversation with one of the landowners that exists up on the hill, on the west side of town. And, you know, one of the comments was that he has to use a certain amount of water on his land, or else he loses his water rights, or excuse me, his water shares, or rights to those shares, to say that the right way. And that troubled me, because I thought, well, while so many people are trying to conserve water, we have some people that are being forced to consume more water. And is there a way that we as a city can work with some of these landowners with those shares and potentially maybe not buying those shares, but
Distributing.
yeah, saying, hey, can we as the city, you know, recapture that water or somehow make it so that water does not need to be consumed and you can still maintain your water share rights.
So I've wondered about this, and I think where my line of thinking aligns is, you know, there's been a lot of studies that are coming out about the health of the Great Salt Lake and what happens if it dries up to a point,
Mhm.
and it makes it pretty much, from what scientists are saying,
The
the
toxic.
plumes that blow off the
Right,
lake are
yeah,
pretty
mhm,
nasty. So I
yeah.
think my line of thinking was, what is it that we can use in our conservation easements to give water back to Great Salt Lake? And the water rights issue, I think, is something that we can't touch with the state, but maybe align our priorities, the city's priorities, to figuring out how we contribute to getting more water to the Great Salt Lake.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, you know, there are agreements. I mean, Weaver Basin could very well, you know, propose or have, you know, agreements that they could say here, you know, this is something that we could allow with the parties involved.
So Commissioner McFadden, you're talking about something that is very long and very sacred to Westerners in the United States. Water rights is almost more sacred than land rights in the West. And I think, like Commissioner Walton was saying, it really is a state issue. Because I know we have some water rights with my organization, and we protect those as much as we can because there's only so much, and once they're gone, they're gone. If you give them up or sell them, you're never going to get them back.
No,
So
I totally understand that. I've worked with water rights, you know, in lots of developments that I've worked on. I've changed agreements. I've you know, recorded several different policies there. And that's why I shared what I shared. You know, I understand water rights and not necessarily water rights, but the difference between water rights and water shares too.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I think the point that I got out of that particular statement is there's competing directives, right?
There are.
Conserve water, but you better use all your water,
Or we steal it.
or
Mhm.
we're gonna take
Okay.
it from you, kind of thing, right? So I can understand that, and I don't know if that's something that even the mayor could take to the League of Cities.
That's just a fear thing, that's not true.
Oh,
They run the West Side irrigation system, they can't take your share, you don't use it. You own your share, you own your rights too. So, but it is a fear with all the states doing is that if you're not using them, they'll take them.
But isn't there like clauses?
That's what needs to go away is the fear. The state needs to come and say to all of us as farmers and irrigators and all of that, and say, if you send your water down the river instead of using it, we're not gonna take your water rights away. That's
It's not
fear
gonna
out
be a
there. It's not a
penalty.
fact, it's just a fear.
And like I've heard the term
Yeah.
non-productive use over so many years.
So they try to do that.
Yeah.
If you don't, and it's only if they're not paying for their water rights, if they don't pay for their water rights after 10 years, they lose them.
Sure.
But other than that, it's a fear out there, and the state would do a much better job of saying, and a lot of people around here would conserve more if they knew it was actually getting where it's going. Then they sent it down the river.
Yeah.
Right now, it's being gobbled up, and so people like you talked to over on the hillside there, I guess it was, and they really think they're gonna lose their water rights.
Mhm.
So,
Thanks for that, Clary.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Commissioner Wiltie,
I'm good.
Commissioner Boatright, anything else to add?
nope.
All right, I think this has been productive. We got a couple of takeaways. Go ahead, Trevor.
Just when you're done, can I have?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm done. Okay.
So a couple quick things. It's a brand new year, so training is required again. So make sure that we get the 4 hours this year. We will be conducting the open meetings, duties and powers on ethics training in an upcoming meeting. I just have to coordinate that with our attorney, and he'll come do that. Maybe in February, but it might be in March when we do that one, but I look forward to that. And then I will let you know of any upcoming APA trainings, luau trainings, the Land Use Academy of Utah, and any other land use trainings that are coming up. I mean, it might be,
Luau,
it
he
might
wanted
be
to
a
roast
party.
a pig.
I know.
He was like, come on.
We have an employee that would love to throw a luau, so maybe I'll invite her too.
Much
Um,
really needs you're getting a ball pit and
I know. So yeah, so look for those opportunities. I know that those who attended the APA conference last year, that satisfied all of your requirements. So just look for those opportunities coming up. And then we do have a special meeting on the 26th of this month. They paid for that meeting, and we will be getting the public notice out for that subdivision. That's for general RV.
So that's the 26th.
The 26th at 6 o'clock. Yeah, and we'll get the notices and everything sent out.
Do we have a
So-
count on who's all attending? Sorry, Gary.
No, go ahead.
Well, I think we've heard from everybody except for Commissioner McFadden. So we just need to see if you're available that night, but we would have a quorum available.
Okay.
Even if you
I'm
had to
I'm
miss.
traveling, so I want to be there, but I'm traveling.
Yes.
I'm gonna be remote, so I just want to make sure you had a.
How does that work with the new commissioner that was just sworn in
He
at city council
he won't
He
speak
starts
until
February
February.
1st.
in February? Okay.
Mhm. So Taylor, we still have him. So we wanted to use him one more time, but he had to travel. So hopefully he can join
Can
us.
you
But
just dial in from your airplane, please?
but we
So-
do have that. We'll be getting that information out.
If
And
it-
and thank you for being willing to do that. I know sometimes it can be frustrating to plans and things like that. But we do provide that service for the residents. And so if they request it and pay for it and you have the ability, then we should honor that as well.
So Trevor, are they
Yes.
actually going to be ready? I mean, I understand they paid for it, but if it's not ready, I'm not inclined to approve or recommend
No,
approval of
so
something.
that's-
So,
We've been working with them really diligently. Brandon's been on the phone with their engineer quite a bit as we talked to them. On Tuesday. We felt as staff that they were right there, ready to go.
Okay.
So we feel that'll be good, but I do want to emphasize that if ultimately you feel it is not complete and is not ready, you have the ability to table, continue, or deny.
Okay.
So that is within your rights. So, and we inform the developer of that as well. That if they were not complete, if there was things missing, then that was a risk that they were taking at having this meeting. So, yeah. And then just lastly, I just want to thank Taylor again for all of his work. There's been a lot of code changes and a lot of updates that he's had his hand in. Taylor in code committee is a force to be reckoned with. He's a great devil's advocate, and I think he's helped push a lot of those conversations really far and really deep in the time that I've worked with him. So I'm really grateful for his service and his dedication to the city. He loves South Weber, and you can tell anytime you talk to him about what's going on and what he thinks should happen here. So just want to thank you for that.
Sure. Good. Okay. All right, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
I
So moved.
You just had to, didn't you?
I haven't used it yet.
I don't know.
Thanks, Gary.